The second you give the bottom up, oh, we got to spin. SVG.
Then Gisbergen in the Wendy's entry for Trackhouse.
You're rolling, you're rolling. Stay on track.
Just when you thought Shane Van Gisbergen's rookie season couldn't get any more heartbreaking, Bristol Motor Speedway delivered the crushing blow that ended his championship dreams. The Kiwi driver who dominated road courses all year long just got eliminated from the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs in the most brutal way possible. Let's talk about what went down at Bristol and why this might be the wake-up call that changes everything for SVG's NASCAR career. Shane Van Gisbergen entered the Bristol night race knowing he was in serious trouble. He was sitting 18 points below the playoff cutoff line, which meant he needed something close to a miracle to advance to the round of 12. What he got instead was a nightmare that perfectly summed up his struggles on oval tracks. The race started badly and only got worse. Van Gisbergen rolled off from 28th position, already fighting an uphill battle. By lap 30, he was already 2 laps down because of tire wear issues. But here's where it gets really rough. His cool suit wasn't working properly, meaning he had to deal with 45-degree cabin temperatures for the entire 500-lap race. Can you imagine trying to drive a race car in playoff elimination race while basically sitting in an oven? That's exactly what SVG had to deal with, and it was just the beginning of his problems. The tire situation at Bristol was unlike anything most drivers had experienced. Teams were burning through tire sets in fewer than 40 laps, and NASCAR even had to give every team an extra set of tires mid-race because the wear was so extreme. For a driver still learning how to manage tires on American oval tracks, this was like being thrown into the deep end of a pool while still learning to swim. Van Gisbergen never figured out the tire game at Bristol. He kept thinking he had enough rubber left to stay competitive, but then suddenly felt the tire cords showing through, giving him maybe 3 laps before he had to pit.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. You'd be feeling like you were good, and then all of a sudden you'd feel the cords start to show up, and then you knew you only had 3 laps before you had to pit. It was pretty crazy.
This tire management issue wasn't just a Bristol problem, it highlighted the biggest challenge SVG has faced all season long. The way you save tires in NASCAR is completely different from what he learned in supercars racing back in Australia and New Zealand. Even though he compared the tire wear to tracks like Tylam Bend and Wanneroo back home, the techniques for preserving them were totally different. Then came the spins that really sealed his fate. On lap 238, William Byron in the number 24 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet made contact with Van Gisbergen, sending him spinning in turn 3. Byron actually lost his lucky dog free pass because officials ruled he caused the incident, but the damage was already done to SVG's race. Just when things couldn't get worse, they did. On lap 269, Austin Dillon in the number 10 Cowlick Racing Camaro ran into the back of Van Gisbergen's car, causing his second spin of the night. This time, SVG's frustration boiled over on the radio. In a rare moment of letting his emotions show, he said, "I mean, fuck, what is he thinking?" You could hear the frustration in his voice, and honestly, who could blame him? Here's a guy trying to save his playoff hopes, dealing with a broken cool suit, struggling with tire management, and then getting taken out by other drivers twice in one night. By the time the checkered flag waved, Van Gisbergen had finished 26th, 3 laps down from race winner Christopher Bell. It was officially over. He was eliminated from the playoffs along with Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, and Josh Berry. What happened next really showed the character of this driver. When his crew chief Stephen Doran came on the radio to thank him for hanging in there all night, Van Gisbergen's response was both heartbreaking and telling. He said, "Thank you guys. Sorry, I'm not good enough. If I get better at this stuff, we'll have a crack next year. Thanks for having a good go at it with me." That right there is a champion's mentality, even in defeat. Instead of making excuses or blaming others, SVG took full responsibility for not being good enough when it mattered most. In his post-race interview, Van Gisbergen was brutally honest about his performance. He said,
Yeah, I'm happy but frustrated, proud, privileged to be here, but also pissed at myself. The last few weeks I just haven't been good enough. I've been really doing well, getting better at ovals, and I just haven't performed the last couple of weeks.
He continued,
Didn't understand the track early enough then and what the tyres were doing and how to save them, so I blame myself at the moment, but thanks to the Trackhouse team, we've had an awesome year and still not over yet, but I need to be better myself, and it's just going to come with time.
This level of accountability is rare in professional sports. Most drivers would point to the mechanical issues, the spins caused by other drivers, or the extreme tire wear that caught everyone off guard. But SVG looked in the mirror and said the problem was him not being good enough. Let's put this playoff run in perspective. Von Gisbergen entered the round of 16 with 22 playoff bonus points from his 4 regular season wins. That's a massive cushion that should have helped him advance easily, but his oval track struggles completely wiped out that advantage. At Darlington, he finished 32nd. At Gateway, he managed 25th. At Bristol, he finished 26th. In 3 of the most important races of his career, he couldn't crack the top 20 even once. For a driver who won 4 races during the regular season, that's a stunning fall from grace. The numbers tell the whole story of SVG's season. On road courses, he averaged a 2.0 finish. On oval tracks, he averaged 27.0. That gap is so massive, it's almost hard to believe. His best oval finishes all year were 14th place runs at Charlotte Motor Speedway and Richmond Raceway. This performance gap actually proved Richard Petty right about the current playoff system. The King has been criticizing NASCAR's win and you're in format, arguing that it allows drivers who are specialists in one area to make the playoffs even if they struggle everywhere else. Petty said, "Unfortunately for SVG, if you have a 27.0 average finish on ovals and an average finish of 2.0 on road courses, you will not make the round of 12. He also questioned whether it's fair for a driver to make the playoffs by winning on road courses when NASCAR is fundamentally an oval racing series. The legendary driver didn't hold back in his criticism of the current system, saying, "The way they got this thing fixed, if you win and you're in, that can't be right. You've got somebody that's 30th in points going to make the playoffs. What happened to the guy that's 15th or 16th or 18th running good, finishing good?" Petty's point hits hard when you look at Van Gisbergen's situation. Here's a driver who won 4 races and made the playoffs, but couldn't compete when it came to the bread and butter of NASCAR racing, oval tracks. While SVG was struggling, his Trackhouse Racing teammate Ross Chastain was having the opposite experience. Chastain finished 19th at Bristol, but had enough playoff points to advance to the round of 12 with a 25-point cushion. The contrast between the two teammates couldn't have been more stark. Van Gisbergen showed his team-first attitude even in defeat, saying,
"Help him fight for a title."
Yeah, I'll do everything I can, prep-wise, help him study, and now the priority for our team is to get the one through to the next round and to the final, so I'm happy to help him.
Meanwhile, their other teammate Daniel Suarez had an even worse night, finishing 37th after getting taken out by Kyle Larson on lap 363. So while Chastain advanced, 2/3 of the Trackhouse playoff drivers were eliminated in one night.
2 questions. Do you like the spray of tracks for the current playoff system? And 2, if there's something that Alex Bowman could change, not necessarily in his favor, but change for the playoffs to make it more fair.
Alex Bowman, the driver who's made the playoffs 7 out of 8 years, just told everyone the whole system is broken. And then he turned around and defended his biggest rival. That's got the entire NASCAR world scratching their heads. The Hendrick Motorsports driver dropped some truth bombs recently that nobody saw coming. Here's a guy who drives the legendary number 48 Chevrolet, consistently makes the playoffs, and has every reason to love the current system. But instead of playing it safe, Bowman went on the Speed Freaks podcast and said something that shocked the NASCAR world. "I would just like 36 races and call it good," Bowman stated flatly. He wants NASCAR to ditch the entire playoff format and go back to the old-school system where whoever has the most points after 36 races wins the championship. No eliminations, no must-win situations, just pure season-long consistency. Think about that for a second. This is coming from someone who's literally built his career success around the current playoff system. At 32 years old, Bowman has made the playoffs in 7 of the last 8 seasons. His best championship finish was 6th place back in 2020. You'd think he'd be all in on keeping things exactly as they are. But Bowman isn't just any driver making noise for attention. He's been around long enough to see both sides of this debate, and he's not afraid to speak his mind even when it goes against his own interests. The really shocking part, Bowman knows his opinion doesn't matter. When asked if NASCAR would ever change back to the old format, he didn't hesitate with his answer.
No, definitely not.
Aw.
0% chance on that one. I don't think so, at least. I think the playoffs are important in creating excitement.
He went even deeper, explaining something most drivers won't admit out loud.
But at the end of the day, we're entertainers and we're creating entertainment, and our job is to entertain the fans. I think the playoffs create a lot of excitement.
That's brutal honesty right there. Bowman basically admitted that NASCAR prioritizes entertainment over pure competition, and he's okay with that reality even though he disagrees with it personally. But here's where it gets really interesting. Bowman knows he's fighting a losing battle, and he's humble enough to admit it.
Even more so, like, I'm a dumb race car driver. Like, people way smarter than me decide what the championship format should be, so...
Now, you might be wondering why this matters so much right now. Well, Bowman's playoff situation this year perfectly illustrates his point about the current system's problems. Going into the second playoff race at Gateway, Bowman was in serious trouble. He sat 15th out of 16 playoff drivers, sitting 19 points below the cutoff line to advance to the round of 12. This put him in a nearly must-win situation, and that pressure showed on the track. At Gateway, everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Bowman. He started 25th and immediately ran into pit road problems. Multiple botched pit stops, including a speeding penalty that killed his chances completely, dropped him to a 26th place finish. That left him 35 points below the cutoff line heading into Bristol. After the race, a frustrated Bowman told reporters,
I don't want to call anybody out. Like, it just kind of is what it is. So just got to keep working. Can't have those mistakes this time of the year. And honestly, just haven't been executing very well.
The execution problem started the week before at Darlington, where Bowman suffered through a disastrous 40-second pit stop just 70 laps into the race. While his Hendrick teammates like Chase Elliott bounced back at Gateway, with a third-place finish, Bowman's struggles continued. It's the perfect example of how the playoff format can make or break a season in just a few bad moments, regardless of how well you performed over the first 26 races. But here's where Bowman really shocked everyone. In the middle of dealing with his own playoff troubles, he took time to defend one of his biggest rivals, Joey Logano. Now, Bowman and Logano have history. They've traded paint, exchanged heated words, and battled hard for position countless times over the years. These two are not friends, which makes what happened next so surprising. During his appearance on Speed Freaks, Bowman directly addressed the criticism that follows Logano and several other recent NASCAR champions. Critics love to call these championships illegitimate because the drivers didn't dominate the entire season. Logano won the 2024 championship despite having a relatively quiet regular season. He only made the playoff field because of a 5-overtime victory at Nashville Superspeedway, then got hot at exactly the right time during the playoffs. Some fans and media members have called this championship illegitimate because Logano wasn't the most consistent driver all year long. Bowman wasn't having any of that criticism.
I think I've seen the people that are trying to say that, like, Joey's taking advantage of it, right? Because he struggled throughout the year last year, got one win, and then kicked all our ass in the playoffs.
Right.
That doesn't make him an illegitimate champion.
This defense coming from Bowman carries serious weight. When a driver defends someone he's had run-ins with purely based on principle, that means something. Bowman could have easily stayed quiet or even piled on the criticism. Instead, he chose to give credit where credit was due. The timing of these comments couldn't be more relevant. NASCAR's championship format has been under intense scrutiny lately, with several high-profile voices calling for change. Denny Hamlin, the 2024 Daytona 500 winner, recently made waves by declaring the fan base is over it when discussing the current playoff system. He pointed out how unfair it would be if someone like Cody Ware, who sits 36th in points with no top 5 finishes, could eliminate consistent performers like Tyler Reddick or Alex Bowman from playoff contention with a single superspeedway win. Mark Martin, the NASCAR Hall of Famer, has been even more vocal. Reports suggest he's been screaming for NASCAR to return to a full season points format during meetings of the sports playoff committee. Fan polls conducted by reporters like Jeff Gluck consistently show that the majority of NASCAR fans want to return to the 36-race championship format. The criticism isn't just coming from drivers and fans. The numbers tell their own story about the current system's flaws. Joey Logano's 2024 championship came with an average finish of 17.1, the worst average finish of any champion in Cup Series history. Austin Dillon made the 2024 playoffs despite sitting 25th in points with just 5 top 10 finishes and no top 5s all season. Meanwhile, consistent performers like Tyler Reddick, who finished second in the Daytona 500 and sits 7th in points with 5 top 5s and 9 top 10s, face the possibility of missing the playoffs entirely if another first-time winner emerged. This creates exactly the kind of situation Bowman was talking about when he said he prefers the old format. Under the pre-playoff system, consistency over 36 races mattered most. Now, one hot streak or one lucky win can override months of steady performance. Chase Briscoe's playoff strategy perfectly illustrates how the current format changes racing itself. After winning the playoff opener at Darlington, Briscoe openly admitted his approach for the remaining round of 16 races would be different. If there is a situation that arises throughout the race, say a caution comes out with 5 to go before a stage, all of those guys are going to have to stay out and get the points. Where obviously, if we were leading, we would probably stay out to get the playoff point, but if not, it allows us to be really aggressive on strategy. In other words, winning early in the playoffs lets you race more conservatively, while drivers still fighting for advancement have to take bigger risks. This fundamentally changes the competition itself. What makes Bowman's comments so powerful is his willingness to speak honestly despite the potential consequences. He's currently fighting for his playoff life, needing strong performances to advance. The last thing most drivers would do in his situation is criticize the very system they're trying to succeed in. But Bowman chose honesty over politics. He admitted the playoff format creates entertainment value while simultaneously arguing it doesn't crown the best champion. He defended a rival's achievements while maintaining his preference for a different system entirely.
Denny Hamlin on the pole position alongside Kyle Larson. Race 2 of the playoffs. Let's go!
Denny Hamlin just won his 5th race of 2025 at Worldwide Technology Raceway, but what he said after crossing the finish line has everyone talking. For the first time ever, the 44-year-old driver revealed exactly when he plans to hang up his helmet. And the clock is ticking faster than anyone thought. When reporters asked Hamlin how he stays so focused at his age, his answer caught everyone off guard.
I knew exactly how many races were left, and it's like, the countdown has begun.
This wasn't some vague comment about retiring someday. Hamlin was dead serious about having an exact number. He went on to explain that he'll turn 45 the week after this season ends, and that leaves him just 2 more seasons after 2025. Do the math, and you're looking at roughly 70 races left in one of NASCAR's most successful careers. Hamlin even talked about a recent conversation with Kevin Harvick, saying, "I knew exactly how many races were left." But here's the kicker. Hamlin isn't planning to fade away quietly. He made it crystal clear that pride won't let him stick around past his prime.
There's just got to be a means to an end. I'm just not going to leave this sport on my deathbed. Just leaking oil, just running in the back of the pack. I have way too much pride for that. I'm way too cocky for that. There's just no way. I want to be able to win my last race.
This timeline means Hamlin has exactly 2 more shots at the Daytona 500, 2 more chances to finally win his first Brickyard 400, and most importantly, a rapidly closing window to capture that elusive first championship. When asked if winning the title would make him consider walking away on top, Hamlin didn't hesitate.
Sure, absolutely. Sounds like a good way to end.
Sunday's victory at Gateway wasn't just another win. It marked Toyota's 200th NASCAR Cup Series victory, with Hamlin claiming 56 of those wins. That ties him with Kyle Busch for the most Toyota victories ever. At 59 career wins, he's also just 1 away from tying Kevin Harvick at 60 wins. Tyler Gibbs from Toyota Racing Development put the milestone in perspective, saying it represents 19 years of partnership success across teams like Joe Gibbs Racing, 2311, and others. For Hamlin, who switched from Chevrolet to Toyota early in his career, the relationship runs deep.
Relationship with them. And so, I've got Toyota running through my blood, both top and bottom.
He said, referencing both his driving career and his ownership of 2311 racing with Michael Jordan. While Hamlin was celebrating and making retirement announcements, Shane Van Gisbergen was fighting for his NASCAR playoff life, and honestly, it wasn't going well. The New Zealand driver started 18th at Gateway, just 0.4 of a second behind Hamlin's pole-winning time. That looked promising, but things went downhill fast. Van Gisbergen climbed to 17th on the opening lap. But his car developed serious handling problems that never got fixed.
Oh, we're wrecking!
It's Shane Van Gisbergen. and the WeatherTech Chevrolet.
Caution, get it rolling here if you can. Barely touch the left rear on the wall. Should be fine. Get it turned around here, all good.
Over the radio, Van Gisbergen didn't hold back his frustration. "I feel useless," he told his crew after struggling with a car he described as very loose. The problems were consistent throughout the race. He'd show speed on restarts, but lose everything once the field spread out.